Mm-hmm. Copy the link. Alright, I'm gonna wait a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Alright, shit's still not loading yet. Wait like 10 more minutes. My phone is dead. Damn it. Open a window. Oh, that's bright. Okay. Maybe not this one. This one. Yes, a little bit. There you go. Alright, what if I just put this damn it. Okay. I'm gonna just do this while I go, while I wait for something. Shit. That's not good. How do I hold this up? Alright, I'm gonna go take a share something. 0 viewers. Pretty cool. Doopy-doo. Doopy-doopy-doo. Doopy-doopy-doo. Okay, I got some water. I'm going to read the entire book, which includes this little introduction thing, just describing what the book is and the author and everything. Every single page. Got out of like 400 and something. Let's see here. 465 pages. Not including the introduction, so like 480. The Grapes of Wrath. Born in Salinas, California in 1902, John Steinbeck grew up in a fertile agricultural valley about 25 miles from the Pacific coast. And both valley coast... Shit, hold on. Hold on, man. Hold on. That's way too loud. From the Pacific coast. And both valley and coast would serve as setting for some of his best fiction. In 1919, he went to Stanford University, where he intermittently enrolled in literature and writing courses until he left in 1925 without taking a degree. During the next 5 years, he supported himself as a laborer and a journalist in New York City, all the time working on his first novel, Cup of Gold, released in 1929. After marriage... Okay, I'm not reading this shit no more. I'm tired. Wait. Nah, can I skip it? I ain't gonna skip it. We thug shit out. Something. After marriage and a move to Pacific Grove, he published 2 California fictions, The Picture of Heaven, 1932, and To God Unknown, 1933, and worked on short stories later collected in The Long Valley, 1938. Popular success and financial security came only with Tortilla Flat, 1935. Stories about Monterey's Paisanos. A ceaseless experimenter throughout his career, Steinbeck changed courses regularly. 3 powerful novels of the late 1930s focus on the California laboring class: In Dubious Battle, 1936, Of Mice and Men, 1937, and the book considered by many his finest, The Grapes of Wrath, 1939. Early in the 1940s, Steinbeck became a filmmaker with The Forgotten Village, 1941, and a serious student of marine biology with The Sea of Cortez, 1941. He devoted his services to the war, writing Bombs Away, 1942, and the controversial play novelette The Moon is Down, 1942. The W Stream, read on that thing. Exactly. Which book? I'm reading The Grapes of Wrath right now. This is like the introduction to Steinbeck and what he did in his life. Where is it at? He devoted his... I'm going to continue here. He devoted his services to the war, writing Bombs Away, 1942, and the controversial play novelette, The Moon is Down, 1942. Cannery Row, 1945, The Wayward Bus, 1947. The Pearl, 1947. A Russian Journal, 1948. And another experimental drama, Burning Bright, 1950. And The Log from the Sea of Cortez, 1951. Preceded public. Proceeded publication of the monumental East of Eden, 1952. There's probably. Hold on. An amazing. Oh, wait. An ambitious saga of the Salinas Valley and his own family's history. The last decades of his life were spent in New York City and Sag Harbor with his third wife, with whom he traveled widely. Later books include Sweet Thursday, 1954, The Short Reign of Pippin IV, A Fabrication, 1957. Once there was a war, 1958. The Winter of. Gotta watch. Man. Cardi's trash, but anyway, I don't care. Once there was a war, 1958. The Winter of Our Discontent, 1961. Travels with Charlie in Search of America, 1962. America and Americans, 1966. And the posthumously published Journal of the Novel, The East of Eden Letters, 1969. Viva Zapata, 1975. The Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights, 1976. And Working Days, The Journals of the Grapes of Wrath, 1989. He died in 1968, having won a Nobel Prize in 1962. So far, just a lot of books. This man wrote a lot of books. Anyway. Robert DeMott is Edwin and Ruth Kennedy Distinguished Professor at Ohio University, where he has received half a dozen undergraduate and graduate teaching awards, including the Jeanette G. Grasselli Faculty Teaching Award and the Honors College's Outstanding Tutor Award. He is a former director of the Center for Steinbeck Studies at San Jose State University, and served for more than 3 decades of the editorial boards of the Steinbeck Quarterly, Steinbeck Newsletter, and the Steinbeck Studies. He is editor, with Elaine Steinbeck as special consultant, of the Library of America's multi-volume edition of John Steinbeck's writings, of which novels and stories 1932 and 1937, released in 1944. This shit, so how do I read this? The Grapes of Wrath and Other Writings, 1936, 1942. Oh, come on. 1960. And novels 1942 and 1952, 2001 have so far appeared. His annotated edition of John Steinbeck's Working Days, The Journals of the Grapes of Wrath, was chosen as New York Times Notable Books in 1989. And his Steinbeck's writer and his Steinbeck's typewriter, Essays on His Art, in 1966, received the Nancy Dasher Book Award from the College English Association, of Ohio in 1998. Okay, now we're getting to the actual book now. To Carol who willed it, and to Tom who lived it. What does this mean? Y'all know who these people are? Alright. Never mind, there's another introduction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, no, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 35 pages of introduction. And there's more. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. No. Okay, 47 more pages to read. And they are all just filled with text. I keep switching up. I have to read 42 pages. Okay. This plus like the 440 or 460, so that's over 500 pages of writing I have to read. I got this. It's easy. I need to turn the brightness though. It's too dark in here. Can't read it. Okay. Alright, introduction. We got 2 quotes from John Steinbeck. Wait, is that his name? John Steinbeck. I almost forgot. My whole work drive has been aimed at making people understand each other. Him in a 1938 letter. Baliu? What was that? It won't focus, goddammit. Hey. Hey, man. Hey. Hey. Whatever. Baliu said that kings, gods, and heroes were only fit subjects for literature. I'll step back. There you go. The writer can only write about what he admires. Present-day kings aren't very inspiring. The gods are on a vacation, and about the only heroes left are the scientists and the poor. And since our race admires gallantry, the writer will deal with it where he finds it. He finds in the struggling poor now. Steinbeck in a 1939 radio interview. The Grapes of Wrath is one of the most famous novels in America, perhaps even the world. When John Steinbeck wrote this book, he had no inkling that it would attain such widespread recognition. Though he did have high hopes for its effectiveness. On June 18, 1938, a little more than 3 weeks after starting his unnamed new manuscript, Steinbeck confided in his daily journal, posthumously published in 1988 in 1989 as Working Days. If I could do this book properly, it would be one of the really fine books and a truly American book. But I am assailed with my own ignorance and inability. I'll just have to work from a background of these. Honestly, if I can keep in honesty, It is all I can expect of my poor brain. Of my poor brain. If I can do that, it will be all my lack of genius can produce. For no one else knows my lack of ability the way I do. I am pushing against it all the time. That's That's inspirational. What would Jutsu say here? No matter how incapable you are, you must always try. Make sure you put down like a cool little quote. Put like a black and white picture of me on the side, like faded out. Pretty cool. Despite Steinbeck's doubts, which were grave and constant during its composition, The Grapes of Wrath turned out to be not only a fine book, but the most renowned and celebrated of his 17 novels. Steinbeck's liberal mixture of native philosophy, common sense leftist politics, blue-collar radicalism, working-class character, and my camera's so blurry. It's like dirty or something. Hey. Alright. And homespun folkwism and digressive narrative form, all set to a bold, rhythmic style and nervy, raw dialogue, qualify the novel as the American book. Had he set out to write the novel's title from Julia's... Wait. He had set out to write... The novel's title from Julia Ward Howe's Battle Hymn of Republic was clearly in the American grain, and Steinbeck, a loyal Rooseveltian New Deal Democrat, liked the song. Okay, what the hell is this about? Because it is a march, and this book is a kind of march. Because it is in our own revolutionary tradition, and because in references book, it has a large meaning. He announced on September 10th, 1938, to Elizabeth Otis, his New York literary agent. After its come on. After its arduous composition from late May throughout late October. After its arduous composition from late May through late October 1938, never worked so hard in my life nor so long before, Steinbeck told Carl Wilhelmsen. The Grapes of Wrath passed from his wife's typewriter to a published novel. The Vikings designer set the novel in Janson typeface in a scant 4 months. In March 1939, when Steinbeck received copies from one of the 3 advanced printings, he told Pascal Kavisi, his editor at the Viking Press, that he was immensely pleased with them. The novel's impressive physical and aesthetic appearance was the result of its imposing length, 619 pages. And Elmer Hader's striking dust jacket illustration, which pictured the exiled Joes looking down from the Tehachapi Pass to lush San Joaquin Valley. Steinbeck's inconsist. Hold on. I gotta do more of these streams. I can't speak for shit. Steinbeck's insistence that the Grapes of Wrath will be keyed into American scene from the beginning by reproducing all the verses of Battle Hymn was only partly met. Viking Press comprised by printing the first page of Hal's sheet music on the books and papers in an attempt, unsuccessfully it turned out, to deflect accusations of communism against the novel and its author. Given the drastic plight of the migrant labor situation in California during the Depression, Steinbeck refused intentionally to write a popular book with the court commercial success. It was ironic, then, that shortly after its publication, on the day of April 14th, 1939, the 4th anniversary of Black Sunday, the most devastating of all Dust Bowl storms. Fueled by nearly 150 reviews, mostly positive, that appeared in newspapers, magazines, and literary journals during the remainder of the year. The Grapes of Wrath climbed to the top of the bestsellers list for the most of the year, selling 428,900 copies in hardcover at $2.75 each. In 1941, when Sundial Press issued a cloth reprint for $1, the publisher announced that more than 543,000 copies of The Grapes of Wrath have already been sold. The Grapes of Wrath won the 1940 Pulitzer Prize. Steinbeck gave $1,000. I was doing good there. Steinbeck gave the $1,000 prize to a friend, Rich Lovejoy, to encourage his writing career. Eventually became a cornerstone of his 1962 Nobel Prize, and proved itself to be among the most enduring and controversial works of fiction by any American author, past or present. In spite of flaws, gaffes, and infelicities, its critics have enumerated, or perhaps because of them, general readers tend to embrace the book's mythic soul and are less troubled by its imperfect body. The Grapes of Wrath has The Grapes of Wrath has entered both the American conscious and its The Grapes of Wrath has entered both the American consciousness and its conscious. Few novels can make that claim. If a literary classic can be defined as a book that speaks directly to a reader's concerns in concessive. Hold on. I gotta take a little break. Temp question every time I do that shit. God damn it. If a literary classic can be defined as a book that speaks directly to a reader's concerns in successive historical and cultural eras. No matter what their critical approaches, methods, or preoccupations are, then surely The Grapes of Wrath is such a work. Each generation of readers have found something new and relevant about it that speaks to its times. You might love it, you might hate it, but you probably won't be indifferent. Although Steinbeck could not have predicted Although Steinbeck could not have predicted its success, and that was nearly ruined by its roller coaster notoriety, the fact is that in the past 6+ decades, The Grapes of Wrath has sold more than. Why can't I? I'm struggling to breathe right now. What the? The Grapes of Wrath has sold more than 15 million copies and currently sells annually 150,000 copies. Why am I hitting this post on? There you go. Shit. A graph in book, July-August 2003, indicates that of the 50 best-selling classics, British and American novels in 2002, Grapes ranks 11th, 5 spots behind Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. But 7 ahead of Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. Steinbeck and Hemingway are the only writers with 3 titles on each list. Each on the list. In that same issue of book, Jerome Kramer. Oh my god. Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Jerome Kramer includes Grapes as one of the 20 books that changed America. Moreover, a recent spate of turn-of-the-century polls, all employing differing, even opposed methodologies, agendas, and criteria, arrived at similar conclusions. Surveys by Radcliffe Publishing Course, Modern Library Board, Hungry Mind Review, now Ruminator Review, San Francisco Chronicle, the Heath Anthology of American Literature newsletter, Library Journal, and a British booksellers Waterson's all placed Grapes of Wrath among the premier works in English of the 20th century. Moreover, an elaborate Writer's Digest, November 1999, survey of readers, writers, editors, and academics ranked John Steinbeck as the number 1 writer among the century's 100 best, a list whittled down from more than 700 nominees. The criteria, admittedly slippery, used to judge each. How did I even get that sound? ETH? I'm actually tweaking right now because of this book. Not even in the actual book yet. Oh shit. The criteria, admittedly slippery, used to judge each author included influence, quality, and originality. Even with a healthy dose of critical skepticism thrown into the mix, and a strong awareness of our turn of the century obsession with compiling best lists, there is still something more significant at work in these dovetailing independent assessments of Grape's achievement and the mere operation of a special pleading. Narrow partisanship, democratic distribution, or simple-minded puffery. Something more than these something more than the vagaries of cultural correctness and identity politics is at work in these polls that keep Steinbeck's novel relevant to the kind of large-scale public conversation that took place in California in 2002. The year of Steinbeck's 100th birthday, when the state's Humanities Council, in an unprecedented and ambitious project, invited everyone in the state to read and discuss the novel at 140 public library venues. California's effort was itself part of a nationwide Steinbeck continual honoring the Bard of the People, which, according to Anne Kaisman, became the largest single author tribute in American history. Grapes has also had a charmed life on screen and stage. Steinbeck sold the novel's film rights for $75,000 to producer Darryl F. Zanuck at 20th Century Fox. Then Nunnally Jackson scripted a truncated film version, which was nonetheless memorably paced, photographed by ace cinematographer Greg Toland, and acted Henry Fonda as Tom Joad, Jane Darwell as Ma Joad, and John Carradine as Jim Casey. Under the direction of John Ford in 1940, the film was nominated for 7 Academy Awards and took home 2 Oscars, Ford as Best Director, Darwell as Best Supporting Actress. A restored DVD version which added historical features, movie-tone documentary newsreel footage of Dust Bowl conditions, and extended interpretive commentary by Susan Shillinglaw. And Joseph McBride was... Extended interpretive commentary by Susan Shillinglaw and Joseph McBride was released in 2004. It proved to be a hard, straight picture that looks and feels like a documentary film and has a hard, truthful ring. Steinbeck reported on December 15, 1939, after seeing his Hollywood preview. Folk singer-songwriter Woody Guthrie said it was the best cussed picture I've ever seen, and urged readers of his column in People's World to go see it and don't miss. You was the star in that picture. What does this even mean? What's even going on? I'm out of water again. Hold on. Um, where was I at? Okay. Frank Galati faithfully adapted the novel for his Chicago-based Steppenwolf Company, whose Broadway production featuring Gary Sinise as Tom Joad and Lewis Smith as Ma Joad won a Tony Award for Best Play in 1990. Steinbeck's novel has created legacies in other ways too. Cesar Chavez, Jim Harrison, Edward R. Murrow, excuse me, John Sayles, and Bruce Springsteen have all acknowledged Steinbeck as a valued predecessor, like Salas, the hero of. Ike Salas, the hero of Ken Kesey's Sailor Song 1992, prizes the novel and places it among his collection of classic American books. The essential heavies, he calls them. Steinbeck's literary legacy goes on and on. Showcased recently by Schilling Law's John Steinbeck, the Centennial Reflections by American Writers, a gathering of statements, homages, and commentaries, reminiscence, and affections by nearly 4 dozen contemporary men and women writers of every genre and identity, from Edward Albee to Ursula K. Le Guin to Al Young. John Steinbeck was the writer who taught me that literature could be about real people in real places. California writer Gerald Haslam summed up in recalling of Steinbeck's impact. See, I hear Hazik. Hey, man. Abe's Mike. Thank you, man. I don't know what to say about that. I'm just gonna keep reading this book, I guess. Thanks, though. There are hilarious send-ups to Mad Magazine's The Wrath of Grapes by John Steinfeld and Will Jacobs and Gerald Jones, The Beaver of Wrath, in their Beaver papers, the story of the lost season. The Grapes of Wrath has also been translated into nearly 30 languages, one way or another. It seems that Steinbeck's words continue in Warren French's apt phrase, the education of the heart. Even Harold Bloom, among Steinbeck's most inflexible critics and Olympian detractors, confessed that in 1988 that there are no canonical standards worthy of human respect that could exclude The Grapes of Wrath from a serious reader's esteem. Every strong novel redefines our conception of fiction's dimensions and reorders our awareness from its possibilities. The Grapes of Wrath has a populist, homegrown quality, part naturalist epic, part labor testament, part family chronicle, part partisan journalism, part environmental jeremiad, part captivity narrative, part road novel, part transcendental gospel. Many authors, upon finding that established fiction models don't fully suit their sensibilities, forge their own genealogy by synthesizing personal vision and experience with a disparate variety of popular motifs, cultural forms, and literary styles. Steinbeck was no exception. He was susceptible to many texts, ideas, currents, impulses, and models. To execute the Grapes of Wrath, he drew directly and indirectly on the jump cut technique of John Dos Passos' USA Trilogy 1938. The narrative tempo of Pere Lorenz's radio drama, and the sequential rapid-fire quality of Lorenz's documentary films The Plow That Broke the Plains, 1936, and The River, 1937. Where's it at? The stark visuals of Dorothea Lange's The Photographs of Photographs of the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma and California Migrant Life. The timbre of Greek epics, the rhythms of King James's Bible, the refrains of American folk music, the philosophical implications of Darwinism, the view of cooperative matriarchal society defined in Robert Briefault's The Anthropological Treatise, The Mothers, 1931. As well as Edward F. Ricketts' all-important theories of natural ecology and phalanx, a group man, organization aided and abetted by interdisciplinary readings in ethnography, in marine biology, political philosophy, and contemporary science. Steinbeck transformed these ancient, classical, and modern resources, especially biblical themes, parallels, and especially biblical themes, parallels, analogies, and allusions to his own kind of combinatory textual structure. As David Minter says, it is a mistake to read Steinbeck solely as a realist, a naturalist, or a proletarian novelist. The Grapes of Wrath is large. It contains multitudes. Malcolm Cowley's claim that a whole literature is summarized in this book, and much of it is carried to a new level of excellence, is still pertinent. Thus, Steinbeck pushed back the boundaries of traditional mimetic fiction and redefined proletarian form. And yet, The Grapes of Wrath is in some ways an old-fashioned book, with roots in two major American fictional traditions: the masculine escape adventure myth, and the feminine sentimental domestic. I messed up too much. The former features a sensitive young loner. Wait, hold on. The former, feminine, sentimental. Okay. Why is it doing that? I need to take a break. Hold on, my neck hurts again. I ain't used to talking this much. I ain't used to talking at all, really. Hold on. The former features a sensitive young loner who retreats from civilization by lighting out for unknown frontier territory, while the latter highlights home-based values by creating, nurturing, and sustaining family and community relations through the performance of sentimental and affect. Historically, in nearly every regard, these two spheres appear to be separate and antagonistic, as aesthetically and thematically oppositional as Melville's Moby Dick and Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, or Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Alcott's Little Women. But Steinbeck, borrowing from both spheres and adding grimly realistic contemporary twists of his own, has woven them together in The Grapes of Wrath. Tom Joad, an archetypal bad guy, a paralleled, unrepentant killer, lights out for the West, not alone, or even in the company of a select male comrade, as might be expected according to delineations of what Nina Baim has famously dubbed melodramas of the Besset manhood. Far from being an isolate, Tom goes on the lam with his mother and his extended family for the most part. Their presence requires social propriety, not outlaw conduct. The Joad family vehicle, a Hudson Super 6 modified from passenger car to truck, becomes their new hearth and home, and acts as the site of matriarchal wisdom and the center of domestic relations during the migrant diaspora. Alright, it's finally getting good. Tom is in debt to his ex-preacher, Casey, for guiding him towards social awareness and political action. But he is equally in debt to his own flesh and blood, especially Ma Joad, citadel of the family, who schools his sympathy for and affection towards the common humanity. Even though Ma is unable to move beyond the limits of her nurturing wife/mother role, Mimi Gladstein notes that women's roles are mostly functionary and enabling in this novel. In the larger picture, her efforts to keep the family intact, her loving relationship to Tom, a topic rarely discussed by scholars, and her mentoring of Rose of Sharon allow Steinbeck to interrogate one aspect of the American myth of entrenched power. Back to Steinbeck, okay. Steinbeck critiques authoritarian and often violent masculinity by refusing to exclude the domain of private sensibility, feeling, and cooperation. Steinbeck's sensitivities to the values of female sensibilities demonstrate a view that supports the idea of humanitarian, large-scale changes that will make America as a nation more responsive to larger social needs. Nellie McKay asserts in David Wyatt's new essays on The Grapes of Wrath. Indeed, Tom's ultimate spiritual lesson, realized in chapter 28, is not solely about brooding solipsistic individuality or the tragic nobility of a separate superior consciousness. As it is often the case in American adventure traditional works, think Matty Bumppo, Ishmael, Huck Finn, Nick Adams, like Ike McCaslin. but about profoundly effective fellow feeling for alienated others and the abiding motions of the heart. As Michael Sisley says, the Grapes of Wrath is detached from anything like a coherent critique of capitalism, and does not solve problems but makes compassion, empathy, and commitment not only possible but desirable in class stratified society. Nothing less than the full spectrum of. Hold on. Okay, I'm doing good. Nothing less than the full spectrum the full spectrum of emotional coloration, from outright rage and inarticulate anger to honest sentiment and unabashed tenderness, is adequate to portray lives under pressure. Steinbeck, whose characters symbolize the over essence of people. Wait. Hold on. Am I stupid? Steinbeck, whose characters symbolize the over essence of people, according to July 6, 1938 entry in The Working Days, was borrowing from and signifying on, and in a sense reinventing both precursor cultural traditions in renegotiating binaries of public-private action feeling, male-female, isolation community, etc. The Grapes of Wrath is Steinbeck's updated, hybridized conjoining of 19th century literary and national narratives, characterized by Jonathan Arrak in the second volume of Sack van Berkovich's The Cambridge History of American Literature. Okay, hold on. How much more do I have to read this damn introduction? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 42 more pages of this. I only read 4 so far. Oh my god. It's so over for me right now. In early July 1938, Steinbeck told literary critic Harry T. Moore that he was improvising his own new method of fictional technique, one that combined a suitably elastic form and elevated style to express the far-reaching tragedy of the migrant drama. In The Grapes of Wrath, he devised a contrapuntal structure with short lyrical chapters of exposition and and background pertinent to the migrants as group characters. Chapters 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 14, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, 29, alternating with the long narrative chapters of Joe's family exodus to California. Chapters 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 30. Chapter 15 is a swing chapter that that participates in both editorial and narrative modes. Steinbeck structured his novel by juxtaposition. His particular chapters are the slow-paced and lengthy narrative episodes that embody traditional characterization and advance the dramatic plot, while his jazzy, rapid-fire interchapters work at another level of cognition by expressing in a temporal and temporal universal synoptical view of the migrant condition. In one way or another, Steinbeck's hold on, I should probably face Steinbeck's combinatory method has allegiances to the stereopticon mentioned explicitly. What the hell? Mentioned explicitly in chapter 10. The novel demonstrates how form itself is a kind of magic lantern, a shifting lens for magnifying and viewing multiple perspectives of reality. One viewer. Yay, thank you, man. No matter what oral or visual analogy we apply, the fact remains that The Grapes of Wrath is not a closed system of historical periodicity, but a relational field, a web of closed system of historical What? I just read it wrong. I just read it again. Oh, just run it back. No matter what oral or visual analogy we apply, the fact remains that The Grapes of Wrath is not a closed system of historical periodicity, but a relational field, a web of connections between text and context, nature and culture, physical earth and human inhabitants. His general or intercalary chapters, pace changers, Steinbeck called them, were expressly designed to hit the reader below the belt with rhythms and symbols of poetry one can get into a reader. Open him up, and while he's open to open him up, and while he is open to introduce things on a intellectual level which he would not or could not receive unless he was opened up. Steinbeck revealed to Columbia Columbia University undergraduate Herbert Sturz in 1953. Throughout his career, Steinbeck was always a relational thinker, and in Grapes, the intercalary chapters provide a kind of anthropological thick description of the American migrant plight. Moreover, Steinbeck. This is loud. Hold on, my breath was just my little. That's loud. Turn it down a little bit. Moreover, Steinbeck historicizes the Joe narrative by embedding his fiction in its contemporary milieu. Controversially, he demonstrates the fluidity of history by recreating it in fiction. History surrounds fiction, fiction embeds history. Text and context are integrally related to each other in a kind of necessary complementary. Damn it. Hold on. Text and context are integrally related to each other in a kind of necessary complementarity, a unique ecological rhetoric, according to Peter Valenti, whose totally who to, whose totality cannot be separated, subdivided, or segregated without risking distortion of its many layers of meaning. The Grapes of Wrath is a unapologetically engaged novel with a partisan posture, many complex voices, and passionate prose styles, except for its unflinching treatment of the Depression's climatic, social, and economic conditions. There is nothing cynically distant about it, nothing coolly modernist in the way that we have come to understand the elite literary implications of that term in the past 90 years. It is not narrated from the first person point of view, yet the language has a salty, catchy eyewitness quality about it. And its vivid, biblical, empirical, poetical, cinematic, and folk styles demonstrate the tonal and visual acuity of Steinbeck's ear and eye. The melding of experience and rhetoric, oral and literary forms. Steinbeck told Merle Armitage on February 17th, 1939, that composition and movement. Then composition in movement, in tone, and in scope. The Grapes of Wrath was symphonic. His fusion of intimate narrative and panoramic editorial chapters enforces this dialogic concert. Chapters, styles, voices all speak to each other, set up resonances, and send echoes back and forth, point and counterpoint, strophe and antistrophe, as in a symphony whose total impression surpasses the sum of its discrete and sometimes dissonant parts. What does this even mean? I don't understand. Steinbeck's novel belongs to that of fictions whose shape issues not from an ideal blueprint of aesthetic propriety, but from generative urgency of its subject matter and its author's experience. It had to be written. Why is that? It had to be written, Stanley Kunitz said in 1939. Steinbeck's direct involvement with the plight of America's Dust Bowl migrants in the latter half of the 1930s created his obsessive urge to tell their story honestly but also movingly. This must be a good book, he wrote in Working Days on June 10th, 1938. It simply must. I haven't any choice. It must be far and away the best thing I've ever attempted. Slow but sure, piling detail on detail until a picture and an experience emerge. Until the whole throbbing thing emerges. Like Stowe in Uncle Tom's Cabin, making the audiences see and feel that living picture was paramount. I am not writing a satisfying story, he claimed to Pascal Cavisi on January 16th, 1939. I've done my damnness to rip a reader's nerves to rags. I don't want him satisfied. I tried to write this book the way lives are being lived, not the way books are written. Throughout, I've tried to make the reader participate in the actuality. What he actually takes from it will be scaled entirely on his own depth or hollowness. There are 5 layers in this book. A reader will find as many as he can, and he won't find more than he has in himself. That's hard. I think, probably. Steinbeck's participatory aesthetic, it was the closest he came to conceptualizing a personal theory of the novel, linking the trinity of a writer, text, and a reader to ensure maximum effective impact on the audience. In representing the migrant experience, Steinbeck worked out a concept of reader response theory generally well ahead of its time. It coincided with the publication of Louise Rosenblatt's Literature as Exploration in 1938, where she first proposed her pioneering transactional reader response model. In chapter 23, Steinbeck writes, "And it came about in the camps along the roads." What the hell? On the ditch banks behind the streams, under the sycamores, that the storyteller grew into being, so that the people gathered in the low firelight to hear the gifted ones. And they listened while the tales were told, and their participation made the stories great. This seemingly innocuous moment has enormous performative consequences for writer and readers because it invites us to enter the text and serves to make us active agents in the construction of meaning, which itself is always changing, dependent on our critical preoccupations. Invested in the process of interpretation, readers must actively cross boundaries between differing realms of discourse, and must remain open to variant, flexible ways of experiencing the story, including being moved by the recuperative power of a narrative, which, according to Lewis Owens, is structured on at least 4 simultaneous levels of existence, ranging from socioeconomic determinism to transcendent spirituality. On one level, it is the story of a family struggle for survival in the promised land. On another level, it is the story of a people's struggle, the migrants. On a third level, it is the story of a nation, America. On still another level, through the allusions to Christ and those to the Israelites and Exodus, it becomes the story of mankind's quest for profound comprehension of his commitment to his fellow man and to the earth he inhabits. The last point opens the door to viewing The Grapes of Wrath as one of the most significant environmental novels of the century. From the dust storms that open the novel to the floods that close it, The Grapes of Wrath can be read as a novel that foregrounds profound ecological awareness, according to Donna Seaman. Grapes is a sustained indictment about a natural world despoiled by grievous range of causes, natural disaster, poor land use practices, rapacious acquisitiveness, and technological arrogance. Failure of genetic engineering and industrialized nature hangs over the state like a great sorrow. Steinbeck laments in chapter 25, and the failure that topples all of our successes stems from misconceived values, manipulating nature and misunderstanding man's delicate place as a species in the biotic community. Steinbeck ideas in debt to Ed Ricketts' ecological training parallel to those of pioneering conservationist Aldo Leopold, who proposed a viable land ethic in a Sand County Almanac. For more than 60 years, Jim Casey's errand to the... Okay, we're going back to the book. For more than 60 years, Jim Casey's errand into the wilderness has been interpreted in a strictly Christian framework. Despite his insistence in chapter 8, I ain't saying like I'm like Jesus, whatever other considerable ends it achieves, Casey's... Wait, hold on. Well, I'm confused. Okay. I ain't saying look at Jesus. Whatever other considerable ends it achieves, Casey's sojourn brings him to an understanding of deep ecology. Wait. I'm confused. An egalitarian, biocentric, non-sectarian view in which all living things are related and equally valued. There was the hills and there was me, and we wasn't separate no more. We was one thing, and that one thing was holy. He tells He tells Tom Joad, emphasis added. In our age, increased environmental awareness, or perhaps the Grapes of Wrath's most resonant and radical lesson, is that saving a bioregion or ecosystem requires the kind of gesture symbolized in eco-hero Casey's sacrifice, and Rosa Sharon's gift of breast milk to a starving man. Can I get some? That is... fuck. That is, gestures, effective or otherwise, that dramatize a way of giving that requires full commitment to a realm larger than the self. In its polemical register and evangelical tone, in its trajectory from I to we, in its indictment of a crime, indictment of a crime that goes beyond denunciation. The Grapes of Wrath is at once an elegy for and a challenge to live in harmony with the earth. Like many American novels, The Grapes of Wrath does not offer codified or institutional solutions to a cataclysmic where am I at? To a cataclysmic social, economical, political, and environmental problems. Rather, it leads us deeper into complexities those issues raise by historicizing beneficence, sympathy, compassion, and relatedness. Damn, this water's doing that. For instance, Grapes privileges the white American migrant labor scene. Steinbeck elides, but was not ignorant of, the problems of non-white migrant workers, Filipinos, Chinese, Japanese, and Mexicans, who made up a significant percentage of California's agricultural labor force, according to Carey McWilliams and other informed observers. William Conlogue notes that part of Grape's bestseller status came from Steinbeck portraying whites being treated as if they were non-white. And yes, and wait, fuck. And yet, in any event, his book still speaks to the experience of human disenfranchisement, still holds out for hope for an ecology of dignified human advancement. At every level, The Grapes of Wrath enacts the process of its author's belief and embodies the shape of his faith, as in this ringing synthesis from chapter 14. The last clear, definite function of a man, muscles aching to work, mind aching to create beyond the single need. This is man. To build a wall, to build a house, a dam, and in the wall and house and dam to put something of man's self. And to man's self take back something of the wall, the house, the dam, to take hard muscles from the lifting, to take the clear lines and form of conceiving. To take the clear lines and form from conceiving. For man, unlike any other thing, organic and inorganic in the universe, grows beyond his work, walks up the stairs of his concepts, emerges ahead of his accomplishments. This you may say of a man when theories change and crash, when schools, philosophies, when narrow dark allies of thought, national, religious, economic, grow and disintegrate. Man reaches, stumbles forward, painfully, mistakenly sometimes. Having stepped forward, he may slip back, but only half a step, never the full step back. This you may say and know it. As Charles Shinoda explains, in Steinbeck's desire to instill a sense of justice in his audience, The Grapes of Wrath provokes not only individual thought, but collective action. I gotta take a little break, man. Okay, I'm on part 2 of the introduction. Why are there multiple parts in the introduction? This is making me mad now. The weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. It's just from a place to come. Ohio. Okay. Introduction Part 2. Behind this most public of American novels stands a reclusive writer. John Steinbeck was born in Salinas, California. This again? John Steinbeck was born in Salinas, California on February 27, 1902. To respectful middle-class parents, John Ernst Steinbeck, a businessman who would later become Monterey County Treasurer, and Olive Hamilton Steinbeck, a former schoolteacher. Steinbeck attended Salinas High School, where he was an undistinguished student, then enrolled sporadically at Stanford University from 1919 to 1925. There, as an English journalism major, he took a short story writing class from Edith Miralles and was published in Stanford's undergraduate literary magazine. But he never finished his degree. He held a variety of temporary jobs during the next 4 years: laborer and cub reporter in New York City, resort handyman and watchman in Lake Tahoe. eventually publishing his first novel, Cup of Gold, in 1929. The novel scarcely sold, but Steinbeck's choice of vocation was sealed. He never again held a traditional 9-to-5 job. Beginning in 1930, with the support and encouragement of his parents, and especially of his wife, Carol Henning Steinbeck, whom he had married that year, writing became Steinbeck's daily occupation and continued so through lean and flush times for the remainder of his life. When Steinbeck died in December 20, 1968, he had managed to support himself and his families. He was married 3 times and had 2 sons, 1 stepdaughter. Exclusively on his writing-based income, primarily from the 30 books of fiction, drama, film scripts, and non-fictional prose he published between 1929 and 1966. His achievement is especially noteworthy because he never thought of himself as as a naturally gifted artistic genius, and rarely believed he had ever arrived as a writer. There is no if it is no longer possible to believe naively in the romantic myth of artistic genius with its heightened capabilities of transcendence and sovereignty, neither is it possible to accept unhesitatingly the contemporary post-structuralistic posture that a writer is a bloodless cipher, utterly determined by unconscious forces of language, race, gender, and class. Better to think of Steinbeck as walking the line between these positions. He was a self-willed writer who prized the shaping power of imagination, however tenuous and imperfect that proved to be. Yet he also realized how in debt he was to a welter of historical particulars, contextual, zero watchers, cool. Zero viewers. Okay, cool. Shit, where's I at again? Okay. Yet he also realized how in debt he was to a welter of historical particulars, contextual determinants, and other people. I, as a novelist, he declared in a letter, I am a product not only of my own time, but of all the flags and tatters, the myth and prejudice, the faith and the filth that preceded me. A novelist is a kind of flat paper to which everything adheres. His job then is to reassemble life into some kind of order. Steinbeck augmented his ability with hard work and repeated practice, where his characters used tools to elevate work to a dignified level. Steinbeck turned to his comfortable and comforting pen, an instrument that became an extension of the best part of himself. Work is the only good thing, he claimed on July 6, 1938, in Working Days. For Steinbeck, who had pronounced nesting desire, writing was a kind of textual habitation, a way of building a home in the architectural spaces of his imagination. This creative and interior level of engagement is the elusive, unacknowledged fifth layer of Steinbeck's novel. There is something positively totemic about his daily work routine and the ritual protocols he performed at the scene of his writing. Steinbeck often sequestered himself in the 8 by 8 foot workroom of Arroyo del Ajo, Garlic Gulch. The house he and Carol built in 1936 on Greenwood Lane in Los Gatos, just big enough for a bed and a desk and a gun rack and a little bookcase. I like to sleep in the room I work in. He told George Albee, although Steinbeck insisted on effacing his own presence in The Grapes of Wrath, the fact remains that it is a very personal book, rooted in his own compulsion. The plotting phase of Steinbeck's writing schedule informed the slow, crawling movement of the Jones journey, while the harried beat of his own life gave the proper feel and tone of his beleaguered characters, their unsavory weaknesses and vanities, their struggles for survival, their unsuspecting heroism are Steinbeck's as well. If The Grapes of Wrath praises the honorableness of labor and ratifies the the obsessive quest for a home, it is because the author himself felt these acts were deeply ingrained in psychic components. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bathroom break. Okay. Alright. Where was I at again? Here. Alright. Still on the introduction. If the Grapes of Wrath... Wait, why do I have these on? Wait, I'm stupid. Hold on. There you go. If the Grapes of Wrath's communal vision began in the fire of Steinbeck's own labor, the flames were fanned by numerous people, especially Carol Steinbeck and Tom Collins. Carol Henning Steinbeck, 1906 to 1988 to 1983, his outgoing first wife, was more politically radical than John. She registered as a communist on the voting rolls of Santa Clara County in 1938 to 1939, though partly as an experiment to test local reaction. And she actively supported Northern California's fugitive agricultural labor movement, according to definitive biographer Jackson J. Benson. Steinbeck was not much interested in the doctrinaire political theories at this point in his career. Carroll was an energetic, talented person. God damn it. Carol was an energetic, talented person in her own right, who agreed to relinquish a possible career in favor of helping to manage his. Their partnership and marriage was smoother and more egalitarian in the struggling years of Steinbeck's career. With the enormous success, pressures brought by Of Mice and Men, New York Kavisi Fried, 1937, and then by The Grapes of Wrath, their situation became more tenuous and volatile. There you go. Carol was an extremely strong-willed, demonstrative person, and she was often frustrated, resentful, and sometimes jealous. John, inordinately shy, was frequently beleaguered, confused, and demanding. In the late 1930s, whenever John was writing daily, which was much of his time, Carol handled, but didn't always like, most of the routine domestic duties. She also shielded her husband as much as possible from unwarranted disruptions and intrusions, and she oversaw some of the financial arrangements, an increasingly large job, between Steinbeck and his literary agents. Carol does so much, Steinbeck admitted on August 12, 1938. Carol also served as his cultural envoy and stand-in. In January 1938, on a trip to New York City, she met with documentary filmmaker Pere Lorentz, 1905-1992, arranging between them his first visit to Los Gatos to discuss a joint Steinbeck-Lorentz movie version of In Dubious Battle, which was never made, and a private showing of The River and The Plow That Broke the Plains. These pioneering documentary films, which Lorentz made for President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal-inspired Resettlement Administration, forerunner of the Farm Security Administration, dealt with human displacement and natural erosion caused by the Dust Bowl and Mississippi Valley floods. After their initial meeting, Lorentz became an increasingly important figure in the novelist's life, providing everything from practical advice on politics to spirited artistic cheerleading. Carol left her stamp on The Grapes of Wrath in many ways. She typed the manuscript, editing the text as she went, and she served in the early stages as a rigorous critical commentator. After typing 300 pages, she confessed to Elizabeth Otis that she had lost all sense of proportion. She felt unfit to judge at all. In a brilliant stroke, on September 2nd, Carroll chose the novelist's title from Julia Ward Howe's Battle Hymn of the Republic. Perhaps inspired by her hearing of Pere Lorenz's radio drama, something, I don't know how to say that, which ends with a martial version of Howe's song. Steinbeck was impressed with the looks of it. Marvelous title. The book has being at last. He considered it Carroll's best title so far. Tell Carroll she is a whiz at picking titles, and she has done it again with the new one. His drama agent, Annie Laurie Williams, exulted. Her role as facilitator is recorded permanently in one half of the novel's dedication to Carroll who willed it. On February 2nd, 1939, Steinbeck told Pascal Cavisi that he had given Carroll the holograph manuscript of The Grapes of Wrath. You see, I feel that this is Carroll's book. Eventually, however, Carroll's brittle efficiency, managerial brusqueness, and wide mood swings seemed increasingly pronounced. Deeper than that, according to a recent biographer, Jay Perini, Carroll resented letting Steinbeck talk to her into getting an abortion when she had recently become pregnant. Complications later developed that required a hysterectomy. Signaling the end of childbearing possibilities. She too was exhausted by the novel's completion, and at her wits' end over its histrionic reception. The telephone never stops ringing. Telegrams all the time. 50 to 75 letters a day, all wanting something. People who won't take no for an answer, sending books to be signed. Something has to be worked out, or I am finished writing. As I went south to work, and I came back to find Carroll just about hysterical. She had been pushed beyond endurance, Steinbeck told Elizabeth Otis on June 22nd, 1939. His indulgent involvement with a young Hollywood singer named Gwendolyn Conger, whom he met mid-1939, and who quickly came to represent everything Steinbeck felt lacking in Carroll, sounded the marriage's death knell. They separated rancorously in 1941 and divorced 2 years later. The second part of the novel's dedication to Tom who willed it refers to Thomas Collins, 1987, 1961. The novelist's chief source, guide, discussant, and chronicler of accurate migrant information, Collins not only put Steinbeck in touch with the real-life prototypes of the Joads and Jim Casey, but he himself served as Steinbeck's real-life prototype for Jim Raleigh, the fictional manager of the Weed Patch government camp. That camp, an accurate rendering of Collins' Arvin camp, became an oasis of relief for the harried Joads and is featured in chapters 22 to 26 of The Grapes of Wrath. Steinbeck portrayed Collins with a photographic accuracy in chapter 22. A little man dressed in white stood behind Majo, a man with thin, brown, lined face and merry eyes. He was as lean as a picket, His white, clean clothes were frayed at the seams. Steinbeck also caught Collins' effective interpersonal technique in having Jim Raleigh wear frayed clothes and win over Ma Jode by the simplest request of asking her for a cup of coffee. An intrepid, resourceful, and exceptionally compassionate man, Collins was the manager of a model farm security administration camp located in Kern County at the southern end of California's Central Valley. The Arvin Sanitary Camp was one of the several proposed demonstration camps intended to provide humane, clean, and democratic, but temporary, living conditions for the growing army of migrant workers entering California from the lower Middle West and Dust Bowl region. More than 24 camps were planned by 1935 by the Resettlement Administration, forerunner of the Farm Security Administration by 1941. With New Deal budgets slashed by conservatives in Congress, only 15 were actually completed or under construction. In 1943, the American Farm Bureau ended the FSA's budget completely. Collins possessed a genius for camp administration. Labor historian Ann Loftus calls Collins a hands-on administrator. He had the right mix of fanaticism, vision, and tactfulness. He and Steinbeck hit it off immediately in the late summer of 1936, when the novelist went south on the first several grueling research trips with Collins during the next 2 years to investigate field conditions. One of the many legends that grew up around the Grapes of Wrath purported that Steinbeck traveled with a migrant family all the way from Oklahoma to California. That never happened, though. Though he and Carol did follow Route 66 home on a car trip from Chicago to Los Gatos in 1937. Unfortunately, Collins was a punctual and voluminous report writer. His lively weekly accounts of the workers' activities, events, diets, entertainments, sayings, beliefs, and observations provided Steinbeck with a ready documentary supplement to his own research. In a section called Bits of Migrant Wisdom, noted in Collins' Kern Migratory Labor Camp Report for week ending May 2nd, 1936, he records a discussion with two women about how best to cut down on the... He records a discussion with two women about how best to cut down on the use of toilet paper. One suggested sprinkling red pepper throughout the roll. The other suggested a wire be attached to the roll so that every time a sheet was torn off, the big bell placed on the outside of the building for the purpose would ring and let everyone know who was in the sanitary unit and what she was doing. What the hell? Steinbeck saw the humor and pathos in the account and utilized some of the original material in chapter 22nd. Hardly put on a roll out for it's gone. Came right up in the meeting. One lady says we ought to have a little bell that rings over that rings every time the roll turns one set. Once we could count how many everybody takes. Collins guided Steinbeck through the intricacies of the agricultural labor scene, put him in direct contact with migrant families, and permitted Steinbeck to incorporate great gobs of information into his own writing. Letter from Tom. He is so good. I need to see this stuff. It is the exact and just the thing that will be used against me if I am wrong. Steinbeck noted in his working days on June 24th, 1938. Come on. In 1939, at Steinbeck's suggestion, Collins worked as a well-paid technical. Hold on. It's dark in here. I'm gonna turn on the light or something. Turn on a big one. Okay. In 1939, at Steinbeck's suggestion, Collins worked as a well-paid technical advisor to John Ford's 20th Century Fox production, The Grapes of Wrath. Tom will howl his head off if they get out of hand, Steinbeck told Elizabeth Otis. And later, probably spurred by the success of both novel and film, Collins himself, under the pseudonym of Windsor Drake, wrote an autobiographical fiction memoir, to which Steinbeck, who appears as a character, added a foreword. Windsor and I traveled together, sat in the ditches with the migrant workers, lived and ate with them. We heard 1,000 miseries and 1,000 jokes. We ate fried dough and sow belly, worked with the sick and the hungry, listened to complaints and little triumphs. The book was accepted, but never reached print because the publisher reneged on the deal. After that, Collins resigned from the FSA, and he and Steinbeck passed out of each other's lives. Clearly, Steinbeck had a knack for associating himself with gifted, generous people. George West, chief editorial writer for the progressive San Francisco News, was the man who instigated Steinbeck's initial investigations of migrant labor situation for his paper. What was that? To be discussed below. Frederick R. Soule, the enlightened regional information advisor at the South San Francisco office of the Farm Security Administration, and his assistant, Helen Horn, provided statistics and documents for his news reports and otherwise opened official doors for Steinbeck that might have stayed closed. Soule's colleague, Eric Thompson, what the hell is this? Eric Thompson, regional director in charge of management at the FSA office in San Francisco, personally escorted Steinbeck to the Central Valley and introduced him to Tom Collins at the Irving camp for the first time. Biographer Jackson J. Benson was the first to recognize that, in a convoluted and unintentional way, the federal government underwrote Steinbeck's research. A continent away, in Manhattan, Steinbeck's publisher, the intrepid and irreplaceable Pascal Cavisi, 1888 to 1964, kept up a running dialogue with the novelist. In his literary agents, he was triply blessed. Mavis McIntosh, Elizabeth Otis, and Annie Laurie Williams not only kept his professional interests uppermost at all times, but did so with the kind of selflessness that made them more like family members than business managers. Of the three women, Elizabeth Otis, 1901 to 1981, became his most trusted confidant. I think that's how that word, what that word is. Steinbeck lit. I only know that. Shit, come on. I only know the word confidant from fucking Denzel Curry. Anyway. Introduction to part 3. I think this is the last one. Steinbeck lived to write. He believed it was his redemptive work, a transformative act. Each morning and after warming up with letters to Otis or Kavisi and an entry in Working Days, he often listened to Tchaikovsky's ballad Swan Lake, Stravinsky's very fine symphony of... Okay, hold on, he's listening to music now. And Beethoven's symphonies and sonatas, which put him in a conductive mood to create disciplined working rhythm and maintain what he called unity feeling. A sense of continuity... Sorry. A sense of continuity and habitation with his material. Let the damn book go 300,000 words if it wants to. This is my life. Why should I want to finish my own life? The confidence is on me again. I can feel it. It's stopping work that does the damage, he admitted in Working Days on July 7th, 1938. Ideally for a few hours each day, the world Steinbeck created took precedence over the one in which he lived. Because both worlds can be considered real at times, Steinbeck didn't know where one began and the other left off. Walking back into the domestic world from the world of imagination was not always a smooth shift for him, or for Carol. His work demanded his attention so fully that he finally refused to dissipate his energy in extra literary pursuits. I won't do any of these public things. Can't. It isn't my nature. I won't be stampeded. And so the stand must be made, and I must keep out of politics, he promised himself. Steinbeck's doubts about his ability to carry out the plan of his novel surfaced repeatedly in Working Days, but he rarely questioned the risks involved in bringing his whole sensibility to bear upon it. Steinbeck's novel had a complicated growth process. The Grapes of Wrath was a product of his increasing immersion in the migrant material. The Grapes of Wrath was the product of his increasing immersion in the migrant material, which he proved to be a Pandora's box. It required an extended odyssey before he discovered the proper focus and style to do the topic justice. In one way or another, from August 1936, when Steinbeck discovered the subject like nothing in the world, through October 1939, when he resolved in Working Days to put behind him, that was a part of my life that made the grapes. The migrant issue, which had wounded him deeply, remained the central obsession for this obsessive writer. He produced a 7-part series of newspaper articles, The Harvest Gypsies, an unfinished novel, The Oklahomans, a completed but destroyed satire, L'Affaire Lettysburg, and The Grapes of Wrath. Each version shares a fixed core of elements. On one side, the entrenched power, wealth, authority, and consequent tyranny of California's industrialized agricultural system, symbolized by Associated Farmers, Inc., which produced flagrant violations of the migrant civil and human rights and ensured their continuing peonage, their loss of dignity through threats, reprisals, and violence. On the other side, the powerlessness, poverty, victimization, and fear of the nomadic American migrants whose willingness to work, desire to retain the dignity, and enduring wish to settle land of their own were kept alive by their innate resilience and resourcefulness, and the democratic benefits of the government sanitary camps. From the moment he entered the fray, Steinbeck had no doubt that the presence of the migrants would change the fabric of California life. Though he had little foresight about what his role in that would be, his concern was humanitarian. Where am I at? Where am I at? Oh, yeah. He wanted to be an effective advocate, but did not wish to appear presumptuous. Every effort I can bring to bear, and is and has been, at the call of the common working people, to the end that they may eat what they raise, use what they produce, and in every way and in completeness share in the works of their hands and heads, he declared unevocally to San Francisco News column John Barry in June 1938. Not counting a Scotch plan to edit and publish Collins' reports, an abandoned place set. Oh shit. Oh wait, let me just stop right here. How long has it been? How long have I been streaming for? How long have I been streaming this for? Because it has been a really long time now. I've been streaming this for way too long, man. Let me see. All right. Where was it? Yeah. Not counting a Scotch plan to edit and publish Kong's reports, an abandoned play set in the squatters' camp in Kern County, or a warm-up essay, a dubious battle in California in the September 12th of 1936 issue of the Nation. What? Steinbeck's first lengthy excursion into the migrants' problems was published in the liberal pro-labor San Francisco News. The Harvest Gypsies formed the foundation of Steinbeck's concern for a long time to come, raised issues and initiated forces gave him a working vocabulary with which to understand current events and furthered his position as a reliable interpreter. This stage resulted from the notoriety caused by his recently published strike novel In the Dubious Battle, New York, Kavisi Fried, 1936, after which Steinbeck found, often against his will, that he was fast being considered a sympathetic spokesman for the contemporary agricultural labor situation in a state that was primarily pro-management. This was profound irony because while in dubious battle, exposed capitalist dynamics of corporate farming, it took no side for or against labor, preferring instead to see the fruit strike as a symbol of man's eternal bitter warfare with himself. As George West's invitation, Steinbeck produced The Harvest Gypsies. The articles, peppered with Dorothy Lange's graphic photographs of migrants, appeared from October 5th to 12th, 1936. Steinbeck's gritty reports detailed the plans of California's feudal agricultural labor industry. The pieces introduced the antagonist, understood the anachronistic rift between the Okie agrarian past and the mechanized California present, explained the economic background and insidious effects of the labor issue, examined deplorable migrants' living conditions, and exposed the unconscionable practices of the interlocking conglomerate of corporation farms. These elements remain central to the core and texture of the Grapes of Wrath. Primarily, though, Steinbeck's eye was on the migrants who were gypsies by force of circumstance, as he announced in his opening piece. And so they moved frantically, with starvation close behind them. And in this series of articles, we shall try to see how they live and what kind of people they are, what their living standard is, what is done for them, and what their problems and needs are. For while California has been successful in its use of migrant labor, it is gradually building a human structure which will certainly change the state and may, if handled with the inhumanity and stupidity that has been characterized the past, destroy the present system of agricultural economics. Man, I'm so tired. How much do I got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my god. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 20, wait no, 28 more pages. I gotta read 28 more pages of introduction. Oh my god. Oh my god, man, this is gonna take forever. It's gonna take so long, bro. I've been reading for 2 hours. I've been reading for 2 hours and only got through this much. Hold on, I only got through this much of the book for 2 hours. I've been reading for 2 hours of introduction and I only got through this much of the book. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me, man. I got through this much of the book in 2 hours, huh? It took me 2 hours to read this. It's done for me. It's over. It's over with. You know? Ever since I was a young boy. I don't know what I'm going on about. I'm tweaking right now. Okay. I took a good minute-long break. My throat is so sore right now. I'm tired of reading. I'm still mad, bro. 2 hours. No one's watching. I don't care. I'm ranting to myself. 2 hours for this much of the book. 2 hours. 2 hours. Oh my god, man. You know, I'm doing too much, man. It's a Saturday. I could be with my friends right now. I could be outside. No, it's too dark. Never mind. I could be doing anything. I'm doing this. Just reading a book in front of 0 viewers. Every single page of this 600-page book. I'm ranting too much. Okay. Fuck it, read. The immersion experience was invaluable, and the importance of journalism in Steinbeck's development cannot be underestimated. As William Howarth claims in Wyatt's News essays, written mostly in measured style to promote understanding and intelligent solutions, Steinbeck's articles are full of case studies, chilling factual statistics, and an unsettling catalog of human woes, illnesses, incapacitation, persecution, and death, observed from close contact with the field workers he had met. In the spirit of advocacy journalism, Steinbeck concluded with prophetic recommendations for alleviating the conflict with federal aid and local support. This in turn will create subsistence farms, establish a migratory labor board, encourage unionization, and punish terrorism. What the? While they were published in 1936, and again they were reprinted in verbatim in 1938 as "Their Blood is Strong," a pamphlet by the non-profit Simon J. Lubin Society that sold 10,000 copies at 25 cents each. Okay? Steinbeck's article solidified his credibility both in and out of migrant camps. As a serious commentator in a league with Dorothy Lange's husband, Paul Taylor, and Carrie McWilliams, two other influential and respected investigators. Steinbeck understood that the migrants would not vanish from sight, even though official California hoped they would. He also knew that the subject reached further than what he had first imagined. Consequently, Steinbeck built on his first news pieces. Steinbeck built on his first news pieces and made at least one more month-long field trip with Tom Collins in October and November 1937. They started from Gridley, where Collins was managing a new camp, but then roamed California from Stockton to Needles. Wherever migrants were gathered at work, wherever migrants were gathered at work. His purpose was to gather more research for his next version of the big book of fiction that had been in his mind for most of that year. A letter to Elizabeth Otis, written on January 27th, 1937, indicates that he had been wrestling with this version since the previous winter. The new book had struck a bad snag. The subject is so huge that it scares me to death. In an interview with Dorothy Steele on November 4th, 1937, in the Los Gatos Mail News, Steinbeck told of starting a book whose topic was the Dust Bowl refugees, the Oklahomans. Though he was reluctant to discuss the characters and plot, he said that it was 1/3 complete and would be about 1,000 pages in length. Given his comment to Otis and the fact that Steinbeck the fact that Steinbeck traveled a good deal that year, 300 pages of completed manuscript may have been wishful thinking on his part. Or it may have represented the total number of pages of reports and research notes he had accumulated thus far. In a second interview 2 months later with journalist Louis Walther on January 8, 1938, in the San Jose Mercury Herald, he apparently had not progressed much, if at all. After hitting several snags, he was working on a rather long novel called The Oklahomans, which was still a long way from finished. Steinbeck generally guarded with interviews revealed enough to Walther to indicate that his novel's focus was a salutary irrepressible character of the Southern Dust Bowl migrants, who he believed would profoundly alter the tenor of life in California. Their coming here now is going to change things almost as much as did the coming of the first American settlers. Furthermore, the Californian doesn't know what he does want. The Oklahoman knows just exactly what he wants. He wants a piece of land, and he goes after it and gets it. In The Grapes of Wrath, Steinbeck does not relinquish his land hunger theme, or his belief that the migrants formed a specific phalanx group within the large national mass movement of the 1930s, but he dropped his imperious and unironic tone. Quietly, as nearly as can be determined. Quietly, as nearly as can be determined, between January and March 1938, Steinbeck stopped working on The Oklahomans. He never mentioned it again by name. The manuscript has never been found, and his boasts of 300 completed pages aside, it is doubtful that he had actually written a substantial amount at all on it. Its existence is shrouded in tantalizing mystery and conjecture. In the first entry of The Working Days, on February 7th, 1938, he mentioned having written 10 pages of an otherwise unidentified book, and 6 weeks later, on March 23rd, 1938, he again told Elizabeth Otis, "I've been writing on the novel, but I've had to destroy it several times. I don't know any more about writing a novel than I did 10 years ago. You'd think I would learn. I suppose I could dash it off, but I want this one to be a pretty good one. There's another difficulty too. I'm trying to write history while it's happening, and I don't want to be wrong." These comments in February and March 1938 have long been thought to refer to the beginnings of L'Affaire Lettysburg, discussed below. I don't think I should do that. But they could as easily refer to one or more avatars of the Oklahomans, or Grapes of Wrath, which had not yet found its proper impetus or creative urgency. But in mulling over, rehearsing, and living with this big subject for so long, Steinbeck was staking his claim to its imaginative territory and experimenting with a weight of fictionalized material that was, until then, the stuff of reportage. Okay. The migrant situation had worsened, and along with it, Steinbeck's capacity for anger and his need for direct involvement had grown. The misery of the workers' condition was increasing in the winter of 1938, especially in Visalia and Nipomo, where thousands of families were marooned by floods. From Los Gatos, Steinbeck wrote to Elizabeth Otis in February. Grapes of Wrath is gold. How far into the book are you? I've been reading for 2 hours, right? I got through this much so far. I'm still in the introduction before the actual book starts. This is just explaining Steinbeck's life and like how he came up with this book. I've gotten that far into it so far. And I still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 more pages of the introduction to read. props to you for reading the introduction. I'm a pretty experienced reader myself, and I always skip those things. Yeah, I usually skip this too, and the end part. But I just challenge myself to read every single word in this book. That's what I'm trying to do. Except for this little like thing in the top, because like no one needs to read that. I don't need to read that either. Dull intros are only interesting if you read the book and liked it. No, I'm pretty sure this book is gonna be good though, so I think it's better to have actual context on it, so I can understand like where and like what he means by the stuff he's saying in the book. I feel like this could be a better way of doing it if you just have the time and like want to fully understand the book. I think reading the introduction could be a good thing. Hold on. Alright, I'm back. That is a lot of historical context. Good for you. Not gonna lie, it's kind of repeating the same thing over and over, just reworded. So it's really annoying right now. But it's gonna be good for me in the long run. I'm not used to talking a lot. I must go over. Wait, hold on. I must go over into the interior valleys. There are about 5,000 families starving to death over there, and not just hungry, but actually starving. The government is trying to feed them and get medical attention to them with a fascist group of utilities and banks and huge growers sabotaging the things all along the line. In one tent, there are 20 people quarantined for smallpox, and My sister just, I don't even know. Anyway, where was I at? Shoot. Okay. In 110, there are 20 people quarantined for smallpox, and in wait, and two of the women are to have babies in that tent this week. I've tied into the thing from the first, and I must get down there and see if I can't do something to help knock these murderers on their heads. They think that if these people are allowed to live in camps with proper sanitary facilities, they'll organize that. That is the bugbear. Wait, they'll organize, and that is the bugbear of the large landowner and the corporation farmer. The states and counties will give them nothing because they are outsiders, but the crops of any part of the state could not be harvested without these outsiders. I'm pretty mad about it. In the late February and early March, Steinbeck witnessed these deplorable conditions firsthand at Visalia, where, after 3 weeks of steady rain, the water is a foot deep in the tents. The water is a foot deep in the tents, and the children are up on the beds, and there's no food and no fire, and the county has taken off all the nurses because the problem is so great that we can't do anything about it. So they do nothing. He again informed Elizabeth Otis on March 7th, 1938. In the company of Tom Collins, life photographer Horace Bristol, and other FSA personnel, Steinbeck worked day and night for nearly 2 weeks, sometimes dropping in the mud from exhaustion. To help relieve, sometimes dropping in the mud from exhaustion to help relieve the people's misery, though of course no aid seemed to be adequate. Steinbeck was supposed to be doing an article for Life's magazine. Bristol's excellent photos later appeared twice in the magazine. But what he encountered was so devastating, he told Otis, that he was utterly transfixed by the staggering conditions. The suffering was so great that any pretense of objectivity would only falsify the moment. You know what? I think I'm done for today. It's been 2 hours and 41 minutes. You know, I'll stop at 3 hours. Let's stop at 3 hours. That's good. I'll stop at 3 hours. Okay. Where's that? As a consequence, Steinbeck backed out of the magazine assignment and a collaborative photo/textbook project with Bristol. Years later, Bristol acted as though Steinbeck had betrayed him, but it wasn't entirely clear how Bristol understood the amount of work Steinbeck had already put into his own migrant research, or the differing views of documentary representation the two men held. Suddenly, Steinbeck realized that the issue was not as simple as portraying the native directness of the migrants' desire for land. Indeed, he was beginning to boil with frustration and impotence. Apparently, neither the Oklahomans nor the proposed magazine article could adequately redress the injustices he had recently witnessed. When I wrote The Grace of Wrath, he declared in a 1952 Voice of America radio interview, I was filled with certain angers at people who were doing injustices to other people. 6 years later, he told a British interviewer, anger is a symbol of thought and evaluation and reaction. Without it, what have we got? I think anger is the healthiest thing in the world. As a novelist, Steinbeck often experienced a delayed reaction to piercing events, perhaps as early as February, but certainly no later than April. New books go very fast, but I'm afraid it's pretty lousy. I don't care much, he said to Otis on April 26, 1938. Though approximately mid-May 1938, Steinbeck worked at the third stage of his effort and produced L'Affaire Lettysburg with his abortive but necessary sidetrack venture. With this abortive but necessary sidetrack venture, Steinbeck's migrant subject matter took its most drastic turn, inspired by an ugly event in Salinas, California, his hometown. Earlier in September 1936, Steinbeck had encountered, whether directly or through newspaper and hearsay accounts is uncertain, the vicious clash between workers and growers in a lettuce strike. There are riots in Salinas and killings in the street of that dear little town where I was born. He told novelist, where am I at? He told novelist George Albee, the strike was smashed with fascist terrorism and recollections of the workers' defeat festered in Steinbeck for more than a year. I am treasonable enough to not believe in the liberty of a man or the group to exploit, torment, or slaughter other men in the or groups. I believe in despotism of human life and happiness against the liberty of money and possessions, he said in a 1937 statement for the League of American Writers booklet, Writers Take Sides, 1938. Perhaps as early as the first week of February 1938, and no later than the first week of April, galvanized by reports of the worsening conditions in Visalia and Nipomo, he felt the need to do something direct in retaliation. John Steinbeck never became what committed activists would consider fully radicalized. His writings stemmed more from his own feelings and humane sensibility than from the persuasiveness of the left's economic and social ideas. But by putting his pen to the service of his cause, he was as close as being a firebrand as he ever would. He launched into l'affaire of vituperative satire aimed at attacking the leading citizens of Salinas, who put together a cabal of organizers called the Committee of Seven to foment the ignorant army of vigilantes assembled from the common populace of Salinas, clerks assembled from the common populace of Salinas, clerks, service station operators, shopkeepers. L'Affaire was a vulgar tract of 70,000 words. But shortly after mid-May 1938, Steinbeck wrote to Otis and Cavisi, who had already announced the publication of L'Affaire, to inform them that he would not be delivering the manuscript they expected. This is going to be a hard letter to write. The book is finished, and it is a bad book, and I must get rid of it. It can't be printed. It is bad because it isn't honest. Oh, and these accidents all happened, but I'm not telling as much of the truth about them as I know. I'm satire. You have to restrict the picture, and I just can't do satire. I know you could sell possibly 30,000 copies. I know that a great many people would think they liked the book. I myself have built up a whole proof argument on how and why I liked it. I can't beat the argument, but I don't like the book. And I would be doing Pat a greater injury in letting him print it than I would by destroying it. Not once in the writing of it have I felt the curious warm pleasure that comes when work is going well. My whole work drive has been aimed at making people understand each other, and then I deliberately write this book, the aim of which is to cause hatred through partial understanding. My father would have my father would have called it a smart aleck book. It was full of tricks to make people ridiculous. If I can't do better, I have slipped badly, and that I won't admit yet. The final stage of writing culminated in The Grapes of Wrath. His conscience squared, his integrity restored, Steinbeck quickly embarked. Steinbeck quickly embarked on the longest sustained writing job of his career. Ridding himself of poison by passing through a bad book proved beneficial. He told Otis on June 1st, 1938, It is a nice thing to be working and believing in my work again. I hope I can keep the drive. I only feel whole and well when it is this way. Naturally, his partisanship for the workers and his sense of indignation at California's labor situation carried over, but they were given a more articulate, directed shape. Everything he had written earlier from his 1936 Nation article, Dubious Battle in California, through Starvation Under the Orange Trees, an April 1938 essay that functioned as the epilogue to Their Blood is Strong, and even a poignant where am I at? Story called Breakfast that he included in The Long Valley, New York Viking Press 1938, became grist for his final attempt. For the first time, I'm working on a book that is not limited and that will take every bit of experience and thought and feeling that I have, he wrote in Working Days on June 11, 1938. From his numerous field travels with Tom Collins, and from countless hours spent talking to migrant people, working beside them, listening to them, and sharing their problems, Steinbeck summoned all of the concrete details of human form, language, and landscape that ensure artistic verisimilitude, as well as subtler, imaginative nuances of dialect, idiosyncratics, habits, and gestures that animate fictional characterization. Yesterday it seemed to me that the people were coming to life. I hope so. These people must be intensely alive the whole time, he wrote on July 8th. My neck hurts so bad. Alright, 8 minutes left. It's gonna be a 3-hour long stream, and I'm done. Oh my god, I'm so tired. I'm still on the introduction, man. From the outset, in creating the Joad family to occupy the narrative chapters of The Grapes of Wrath, Steinbeck endowed his novel with a specific human context. It felt emotional quality and a dramatic dimension from his earlier versions lacked. Begin the detailed descriptions of the family I am to live with. Must take time in the description, detail, looks, clothes, gestures. We have to know these people, know their looks and their nature. Okay. Um. Wait, hold on. We have to know these people, know their looks and their nature. He reminded himself in his work diary on June 17th. By conceiving the Joes as an over essence of people, Steinbeck elevated the entire history of the migrant struggle into the realm of art, and he joined the mythic Western journey with latently heroic family characters, according to this key working days notation on June 30. All right. Yesterday, I went over the whole of the book in my head, fixed on the last scene, huge and symbolic, toward which the whole story moves. And that was a good thing, for it was re-understanding of the dignity of the effort and the mightiness of the theme. I feel very small and inadequate and incapable, but I grew again to love the story which was so much greater than I am, to love and admire the people who are so much stronger and purer and braver than I am. At times during that summer, though, his tasks seemed insurmountable because he kept losing the threads that tied him to his characters. Was ever a book written under greater difficulty? Nearly every day brought unsolicited requests for his name and his time, including unscheduled visitors, unanticipated disruptions, and reversals. Domestic and conjugal relations with Carol were often strained. House guests were trooped to Los Gatos all summer, including family members and longtime friends. Cotton, Carton, Carlton Sheffield, Ed Ricketts, Rich, and Tal Lovejoy, plus new celebrity acquaintances, actors Broderick Crawford and Charlie Chaplin, and filmmaker Per Lawrence. As if that weren't enough to erode the novelist's composure, the Steinbeck's tiny house on Greenwood Lane was besieged with the noise of neighborhood building, which had nearly drove them to distraction. By midsummer, hoping for a permanent sanctuary, they decided to buy the secluded Biddle Ranch, a 47-acre spread on Brush Road in Santa Cruz Mountains above Los Gatos. Even though it was the most stunning location they have ever seen, its original homestead was in disrepair. So besides buying the land, they would also have to rebuild a new house. And that too became a source of added distractions. The Steinbecks didn't move in until November 1938, a month after the novel was finished. Final typing of the manuscript and corrections of the typescript and Galley proofs took place at the Bill Ranch from November 1938 to early February 1939. But preparations for its purchase ate a great deal of Steinbeck's time and energy from mid-July onward. Where am I at again? Oh yeah. August proved the most embattled period. Early in the month, Steinbeck noted in his journal, "There are now 4 things, or 5 rather, to write through: throw, bankruptcy, pair, ranch, and the book." His his litany, re, re, his litany of woes included Carol's tonsil operation, which incapacitated her, the bankruptcy of Steinbeck's publisher, Covisi Fried, which threatened to end their only source of income and posed an uncertain publishing future for the novel he was writing. Per I keep forgetting where I'm at. Per Lorenz's arrangements for making a film version of In Dubious Battle, the purchase of the Billa Ranch, which Carol wanted badly and Steinbeck felt compelled to buy for her, they argued over the pressure this caused. And the book itself, still untitled, and therefore without being, which seemed more recalcitrant than ever. By mid-August, roughly halfway through the novel, Steinbeck took stock of his situation. The Viking Press had bought his contract, hired Pat Cavisi as part of the deal, and planned a first printing of 15,000 copies for Steinbeck's collection of short stories, The Long Valley. A string of famous house guests had either departed or about to arrive, and he and Carol had closed on the Biddle property for $10,500. Demoralization complete and seemingly unbeatable. So many things happening that I could not be interested. All this more excitement than our own lives put together. All crowds into a month. My many weaknesses are beginning to show their heads. I simply must get this thing out of my system. I am not a writer. I have been fooling myself and other people. This success will ruin me as sure as hell, he confided in The Working Days. Let me just finish this. This success... 4 days later, on August 20, Lorenz arrived for the weekend. His visit broke Steinbeck's depression and long jam. Though their film project will fall through, Steinbeck was encouraged by Lorenz's prescience that his novel would be one of the greatest novels of the age. Steinbeck kept up his daily stint. He aimed for 2,000 words at each sitting, some days managing as few as 800, some days, when the juices were flowing, as many as 2,200. Though what Carol agreed were interminable details and minor crises of August and September. Alright, wait, hold on. What page am I on? No, I forgot. What page am I on? I forgot. Okay, here. Okay, I have read this much of the book within 3 hours. And I will be continuing tomorrow, probably. 7 viewers. That is amazing. Thank you all. Let's see here. We got Logan, Femboy, Cardi. We got Femboy Cardi. We got Siahir, Hazik. We got Timothy Solis. And few other that's 4. And 3 other people who didn't. I don't know. We got those people in chat. We got Logan, Femboy Cardi, Siahir, Hazik, and Timothy Solis in the chat. Thank you all. Yep, I'ma go. See y'all tomorrow. Grapes of Wrath. Live stream, part 1. Bye.